Oh, yeah, walking on sunshine makes you feel good, doesn't it? Well, in the studio now, I have got Graeme Bray. Good morning and welcome, Graeme.
Yeah, good morning to you.
Yeah, great to have you here. You're the serving member of the 41st Battalion, Private Graeme Bray, and this is of the Royal New South Wales Regiment, and you're Secretary of the Northern Rivers Military Museum.
That's correct.
Yeah, you originally joined the military in 1990 in the Navy as a radar plotter. So which ship were you serving on?
I served for most of my time was on HMAS Darwin, and we operated on Operation Damask 5 when we went over to the Middle East, and we boarded 296 ships in 4 months.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. That is quite a number, isn't it? In 1994, you joined the 41st Reserves as an infantry soldier, and then in 2007 in the Australian Army Catering Corps. How did you find that?
It was one of those changes. I thought I'd become a cook and just to help out because the people we had were ageing out, and then it became something really good because I could find a whole new way of being creative and
roll up your sleeves and help out.
And cook a good meal, and all the soldiers really appreciate it.
You didn't have any negative comments?
Oh, I've had a few.
Oh, okay. You only get better, don't you,
Yes.
Graeme? Yes, you've also represented the 41st RNSWR in a United Nations ceremony in Bhutan, South Korea. Who was this to honour?
That was to honour Olwen Green. Her husband was from Ulmarra, and if anyone's driven down the old highway through Swan Creek, that you will see a United Nations on the gate down there, and that was their family property. And he was the commanding officer of the Australians during the start of the Korean War, and he was unfortunately killed after several battles and everything like that, and so he was laid to rest there. And in 2024, I went over to South Korea because on what would have been her 100th birthday,
Really?
we laid Olwen beside her husband. And she was an English teacher, and she went on to be a big advocate for Korean veterans and for Korean community in general. And on top of that, she wrote a book about her husband's career, and that book is on display at the cemetery.
Okay, that's quite an honour, isn't it?
It was quite an honour.
Yeah, they really achieved and gave to their country, Australia. In 2024, you came across to the Northern Rivers Military Museum, and you gave the place a boost, I think, because as a young person with different skills, you've added to an already wonderful museum. Have you found that you've got many projects on the go since you've joined the military museum here?
Yeah, we've had lots of different things that we do, helping out locals, researching their war service history for different family members, researching different stories, and creating displays and all that, and finding the backstories and the truth to certain aspects of it all.
Oh, yeah. Owen Newell's the president. He's been the long-standing president of the museum, which is in excellent shape, isn't it? Like, you're bursting with so many items.
Yes, we are. We're struggling to find places to put everything, and not just to store things, but also to tell the story.
Yes,
which
and
is important.
Kevin Magnay's the curator.
Yes.
So when you all come together, you get projects and develop the stories that showcase what's behind different wars.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the moment, we're obtaining a second biplane, and it's going to be strapped to the roof of the shed at the museum, which involves engineering reports and other bits and pieces. So, yeah, it shows some of the work that Kevin and all the other volunteers do. Yeah,
tell us about the shed. This is an amazing part of the museum, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the museum has as well as the building itself, which is one of the oldest light horse buildings in Australia, built in 1908, and it was built over in the centre of town next to the post office, but then was moved out to its current site in the 1930s. And because it was a light horse unit, that explains why you got all the big parkland and big space around it that there is now. But during the 1980s, it was used as the regional headquarters for Army cadets.
Yes.
And thus it had a big shed on there for all the stores that the cadets needed. So that's why we've got a truck in there, a Ford Blitz truck inside, an engineering model of a medium girder bridge, and we also have a Newport 11 aircraft from 1916.
Quite a few countries had the Newport 11, didn't they?
Mostly the French and the Americans.
And what about the Italians?
I mean, there was hundreds of aircraft and all that sort of stuff built in bits and pieces. And so their use and all that sort of spread across many different things. I mean, some were used in British and technically Australian service through that. But, I mean, we've got a new aircraft coming along, which is a Bristol F.2. And that was an aircraft that was recently renovated for a miniseries on Kingsford Smith.
Oh, okay. Do you have any idea when that will be shown?
It all depends on how the engineering reports and approvals and all that get done.
Oh, well, I can't wait to check this out, Graeme. It sounds very exciting. I'm really into Kingsford Smith, and the Northern Rivers Military Museum is held in high regard by the Richmond Valley, and it's really supported by the council. It stands as a proud beacon for the strength and capabilities of men and women from our region, and of note is Cheval. So if you could just give us an outline of some of the rooms that you find in the museum.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have a room dedicated to the First World War and the local people who served in that conflict. We have a room dedicated to 6 generals that come from this area, from Harry Cheval, and his father, Charlie Cheval, who's the person who created the Light Horse Regiment in the first place.
Oh, really?
Going right up to, as of last month, the new Chief of Army, who is born and raised in Kyogle, although she grew most of her years on the New England area.
Yes, a highly intelligent woman, isn't she?
She certainly is.
Yes, she was on a documentary, I think it was last year. So I got to observe her.
Yeah, then we have a large library which we encourage anybody who wishes to come along and research various periods of Australian military history, especially with the schools. And we have a room dedicated to individuals, servicemen and men and women from all the different conflicts. And then we go through all the conflicts since with World War II, Vietnam, Korea. And we also have a large display dedicated to the Dutch Army camp that was in Casino at Camp Victory.
Yes, which is what we're about to talk about. So this was pretty exciting. Can you tell the listeners about this camp, how it all unfolded, and why it was originally built?
Well, I mean, with the Japanese attacking Malaya and Singapore, there was the need to bring all the Australians back from North Africa. And so the camp was originally set up and on the land across the road from the meatworks along Reynolds Road. And it was just known as Camp Casino initially. And you had a brigade of the 7th Division originally rotate through there before they had did all the bits and pieces, then went up to the Atherton Tablelands and then went on to New Guinea for their fighting in the Pacific. And then they were followed by the 15th Brigade of the 3rd Division, who came up from Victoria. They were conscripts, and so you had a brigade of soldiers based at Casino, and you had one battalion responsible for the Tweed Valley, one for the Richmond Valley, and then you had a 59th Battalion who was down near South Grafton High School to look after the Clarence.
So that's the background of this. But now there's a spotlight being shown on the Dutch with this camp, and Jeff Austin from the Casino Museum and yourself have got a real interest. Have you got some information to share with the listeners about how the Dutch in Sydney are taking a real
basically
closer look at us?
At the end of 1943, with the Australians now moving on up into the Papua New Guinea and the campaigns up there, there was no need for Australian soldiers to be at Camp Casino. So the camp was then handed over for the Dutch East Indies Army, which is known as the KNIL in the Dutch language, and they renamed the camp as Camp Victory.
Yes.
And then
They could see victory.
Yes, but they used it there. Now, for people who don't understand, the Dutch had 120,000 soldiers in their East Indies Army, and they then had to evacuate out of Indonesia as a Japanese, but only about less than 10,000 actually are able to do it. The rest of them were captured and went on to projects like the Burma Railway and such, alongside the Australian POWs. And so we had the guys come down to Australia, down the west coast to Perth, across to Melbourne, where was a Camp Darley, and then from there they eventually made their way up to Casino, where they retrained, reformed, and then went into the Pacific later with the Australians.
Yeah, and at Camp Victory, there were quite a few hundred soldiers, weren't there?
Well, there was a minimum of 1,500 soldiers up to 3,000.
Up to 3,000.
Over 3,000 at times. And when you consider that Casino at the time only had a population of under 3,500, it effectively doubled the size.
This match, it did. And yet there's nothing significant at site now.
Well, I mean, that was the whole nature of the camp. It was only a temporary facility. Most of the accommodation was in tents.
Yeah.
There were workshops out there. And thus nothing of great permanence was ever left there. And then come the end of the war, the buildings were then sold off to local farmers and all that as required.
Oh, okay. And how many Indonesians were kept at the camp?
I don't have a breakdown of the actual nationalities that were there, but there were people from a great number of places. There was a battalion of soldiers from South America, and the Caribbean. They were from the country of Suriname, Aruba, Curaçao, and Bonaire, and Sint Maarten. They were Dutch colonies. They originally were intended to go to North Africa, but unfortunately the Dutch authorities thought that might upset the South Africans due to their skin colour.
Yeah.
So they were sent to Casino instead.
Okay.
And so they were trained as infantry there. There were Javanese, Sumatrans, Moluccans, and the way the army was, there was no Indonesia at the time. So they looked at
there was a cloud
routes.
hanging over it.
No. The way the Dutch East Indies Army was people. There was no language. Common language between them all.
Yes.
So Sumatrans served in a separate units to Javanese, who served in separate units to Moluccans.
Oh, that's important to know.
Because of basic cultural differences. The people from the west of Indonesia were Muslim. The people from the east of Indonesia were Christian.
Christians, because going on to Papua New Guinea.
Yeah, and all that sort of stuff. So there was a West Papuan battalion that was trained up to garrison Papua New Guinea, or the West Papua area after it was liberated. There were, like I said, the Suriname battalion.
Yeah.
There was an Indonesian battalion. And then there was a technical battalion whose job was oil rigs. And so they had a series of oil rigs out here in Casino, and they would drive around the countryside and set up the oil rigs, drilling for oil, but not expecting to find any oil within Australia, but it was so they could restart the oil fields in Borneo.
Okay.
And help out with the war effort in that way.
That's interesting. They were looking at the big picture and seeing a future, weren't they?
Yes, yeah. And I mean, most of the Dutch soldiers, both infantry and the technical soldiers, they went into the Australian landings at Balikpapan and Tarakan towards the end of the war, and they assisted in those actions there.
Now, Graeme, you've got some very exciting news about what happened yesterday with yourself and Owen, the president of the Military Museum. You had a link up.
Yes.
Would you like to tell us about this?
Well, basically, we've had a proposal by the Australian Indonesian Association for creating a new memorial to commemorate the Indonesians that served it there, because it's the 80th anniversary of Indonesian independence. But so we've sent feelers out around the world to get information about the camp and everything, and through that we've been able to get onto the National Military Museum of the Netherlands.
Right.
And yesterday we had a teleconference with 3 academics from there, curators whose speciality is with the Dutch East Indies Army and also the Dutch East Indies Air Force. And so we had a conversation to try and find basically the personal stories of these soldiers. We've got high-level documents from the Australian federal government and the Dutch East Indies government, but we don't actually have too much information about who the individual soldiers were, both from the Dutch side or the Indonesian or Suriname side of things. So we're just trying to find some of those things out.
Yeah, to put the human side out there. And in 2015, I think there was an anniversary where the Javanese came. Our Richmond Valley Council hosted this event.
Yes. So that was set up by the Australian Indonesian Association again. And you had the Consular General from Sydney come up to Casino from the Indonesian Consular General, and they had a conference talking about the camp, and they filmed that all, and they had gathered some documents, and they toured the site. But we're now taking that to one level further, trying to find all the information out. 10 of soldiers died during their time in Casino, and initially they were all buried in the general cemetery near the Casino Golf Club, but they were then reinterred in 1950 and taken to Jakarta.
Okay.
So they're no longer resting here in Casino.
Yeah, there's many stories to discover, and we still have quite a few Dutch people living amongst us, don't we?
Yes. So basically, towards the end of the war, as the Netherlands was liberated in Europe, there was a plan to bring 5,000 airmen and 29,000 soldiers out from the Netherlands and have them train in Casino and then join the war in the Pacific. The only problem was that the atomic bomb in Japan shortened the war closer to what they were expecting it.
Yeah,
and so only a handful of airmen were able to come out, but a lot of those airmen, well, they fell in love and married local people.
Nature takes its course.
And thus they were able to settle within Casino. Unfortunately, the same could not be said for some of the Surinamese and all that stuff. But there was also war brides who left Australia. One married a Dutch serviceman and went to live in South America in Suriname.
Okay.
But Suriname in those years wasn't all that crash hot, so she ended up coming home.
Okay, come home. That's a good idea. We'll just take a break and play a sponsorship notice and a song and come back and chat some more.
This Saturday, don't miss the Lions Farmers Market from 8 a.m. every Saturday at Crawford Square. You can obtain the freshest of local produce directly from the grower. Listen to local performers, grab a coffee and your weekly fruit and vegetable order at the same time. The Lions Farmers Market at Crawford Square every Saturday from 8 a.m. For details, please ring John on 0498 00 1257.
Time's a lady. So how was that from the Commodores? Welcome back to you, Graeme. You're in the studio to chat to us about the Special Victory Camp and also about the Northern Rivers Military Museum. Would you like to share some stories about, in the days when the camp was here, I believe that the Dutch used to love riding their bikes into Casino and the Indonesians used to love flying their kites.
There's a big tradition of kite flying throughout Indonesia, and so that was a large part of their culture, and the Dutch naturally with that, but also with sport. Hockey really took off around the district because the Dutch are very big with playing hockey, and there was many local competitions both in Casino and across in Lismore and everywhere, and there were all manner of activities where shopping and doing whatever in town, or special trips into Lismore for the big smoke.
It built up the businesses. There was lots of trade going on, wasn't there?
Yeah, and it wasn't so good for the Surinamese.
Okay.
They were not paid in Australian pounds at the time. They were only paid in Japanese occupation money, the guilders.
Shopping.
Which meant they could only shop and buy things within the camp itself.
No credit cards.
because of the racial policies of the time.
Oh, dear me.
So that wasn't so good. And then for the Indonesians that were there, everything was wonderful. Going out, enjoying themselves on the town, going to the pitches, going to a dance, whatever.
Life was good.
Until the 16th of August 1945, and then the Indonesian nationalists declared independence from the Netherlands, and then the Dutch East Indies Army didn't trust their Indonesian soldiers anymore.
Yeah, the tables were turned.
And so they were then interned and imprisoned within their own camp.
Oh, my goodness. I know a few years back we had Bob from the Casino Museum who'd videoed the anniversary. And this brought to light quite a few features, including how the Indonesians were captured. They were really interested in the animals that were around the area, like the echidnas.
Yeah, you even get that today when I'm serving with foreign troops, because there's so many different unique animals or so many unique environments. This time last year I was over in the northwest of Western Australia in the the West Kimberley, and the Americans were just totally astounded at the just desert nothingness.
The space.
Yes.
Actually, can you tell us where you were born and how you came to New South Wales?
Oh, well, I was originally born down in Victoria, on the Great Ocean Road near Warrnambool. And in 1988, my mother was suffering chronic asthma. And so we moved up to Ballina from there. And then from Ballina is where I then joined the Navy.
Yes.
Before moving on to the Army.
Well, there you go. And I believe you've got a niece who's got a birthday today?
Yes. My niece down there, Bridget, who's just left high school and is now progressing to follow her dreams of becoming a world-famous chef, and is a culinary school down at the TAFE in Newcastle.
It runs in the family, doesn't it?
It certainly does.
And also in the break we were just chatting and you were talking about your brother-in-law who actually came to Evans Head.
Yeah, basically, like I said, I have the Navy and the Army service tied up in the family, and then my sister went to Evans Head for a 30th birthday party where she met Warren, who was an airman stationed at the Evans Head bombing range, and so that's how they met.
The world comes together around the Northern Rivers, doesn't it?
Yes, he completed the trifecta.
Oh, well done. Now, a few years back, there was a film crew that came over from a Dutch film crew that came specifically to film around the Dutch camp. Do you have any news about what happened to that film?
Personally, I do not have any information about that because it was not intended for distribution locally within Australia. So I'm afraid I don't have too much I can say about that.
There's so many stories from the wartime. Would you like to put a call out to people if they've got any interesting backgrounds with either the Dutch or the Indonesians to share their stories with you?
Yeah, we're more than happy to welcome any people who have a story, have some artefacts, have anything to do with Camp Victory, the Dutch East Indies Army, their aircraft, their whatever it may be, or maybe it's just regular military service. We're here to commemorate and remember all the servicemen and women from the district who have served their country proudly, and we're there to sort of maintain their memories.
You certainly are. And I know that the museum has a lot of focus on the Vietnam side of war, because quite a few serving members are very proud and they want to showcase their loyalty to Australia. So, yeah, it's well worth coming to the museum to chat with some of the volunteers.
Yeah, we've got members of our museum. One is still a Korean War veteran and is still quite active coming along.
And he's of some age, I guess.
Yes, Tom Harwood certainly is. But, you know, everyone has their own little aspect to tell, their own little story. My service going over to the Middle East is very different to other guys who went to Vietnam, and likewise the guys have been to Afghanistan, Timor and all that since. We're all open, and it's all about commemorating everyone's story individually and equally.
Yeah.
It's not a say that one was better than another.
Yeah, so do you envisage that yourself and Owen will be having another conference with the Dutch Museum, with the Royal Dutch Museum?
Yeah, no, we are. We're because I mean we've got certain documents that they do not have, and likewise that. So we'll have an exchange of items, including we've got a lost property list for what was left at the camp when the Indonesians left.
How did you come by that?
It was actually by a local who brought in a mountain of documents and stuff, so they were able to do that. And so we went through, we'll do that, and then we'll convene probably in early October and help share what other records that we can find, because through this laundry list, we actually have names of people.
Okay.
And thus we can go through it. And one of the problems that we have is naturally a lot of the archival records are all in Dutch. And that's not our speciality.
Well, you know what, Graeme, we should be putting a call out to anyone that can speak Dutch and shed... Well, I know that we have apps to convert language, but it's good to have the real person, isn't it?
Well, and these military historians in the Netherlands will help us in that activity.
Oh, okay.
And put us in connection with other institutions, not just within the Netherlands, but also in Suriname and Curaçao and Aruba, to help get any stories and all that from those parts of the world as well.
Yeah. It's an outstanding museum, and we're thrilled to have you in the studio today. Thank you for coming in and sharing your stories, and we look forward to an update in the future. So if anyone's out there and hasn't been to the Northern Rivers Military Museum, what would you say to them, Graeme?
Oh, definitely come along. We're open on a Tuesday and a Thursday from 9 till 3 p.m, and we welcome everybody to come along.
Yeah, you don't want to miss out. It's the best museum. It's part of history for Casino plus the region. The Northern Rivers Military Museum takes into account Kyogle, Austenville.
Right across the Northern Rivers.
Yeah, Evans Head. There's so much to share.
Yeah, we've got a bus group coming next week from Maclean to share in.
Oh, well, there you go, from Maclean on the Clarence River. And I know that they quite often have significant opportunities to share stories about Cheval around Tabulum.
Yes.
So there's this and that happening. The Light Horse are still a movement, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely.
They get together in Queensland or New South Wales and they keep up their skills.
Yeah, I mean, now the cavalry units within the Australian Army still carry on the Light Horse name.
Oh, do they?
And carry on the traditions and all that stuff. And throughout the 90s and early 2000s, I did army exercises out on what is the Chevelle family property out west. So we're still active in keeping the Chevelle family name involved that way.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you for coming in. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.